So, what we're going to be doing today is identifying point of view in the short story Rules of the Game by Amy Tan. So, we're going to talk about this game, Rules of the Game, and we're going to talk about what are rules of the game that you need to be successful at that. And that's something that we'll kind of break down. We have some new vocab words. So, our first word is benevolently, which is an adverb. It's a manner in which is well meaning or kindly. Malodorous is an adjective, which is very unpleasant. Adversary is one's opponent in a contest, conflict, or dispute. Pungent is having a sharply strong taste or smell. And benefactor is a noun, and that's a person who gives money or help to a person or cause. So, some background knowledge about our story is Rules of the Game is from Amy Tan's book of connected stories called The Joy of Luck Club. So, Amy Tan is our author. The story is about Waverly Zhang. That's the daughter of Chinese immigrants as she ascends to the highest level of competitive chess by the age of 9. The short story is set in San Francisco's Chinatown. Chinatown is a special place in San Francisco because tourists go there, many Chinese immigrants live there. It's a mix of Chinese heritage and American culture. And the setting will take a key role in this text. So I'm going to start reading a couple of our pages. I was 6 when my mother taught me the art of invisible strength. It was a strategy for winning arguments, respect from others, and eventually, though neither of us knew it at the time, chess games. Bite back your tongue, scolded my mother when I cried loudly, yanking her hand toward the store that sold bags of salted plums. At home, she said, wise guy, he not go against wind. In Chinese, we say, come from south, blow the wind, pum. North will follow. Strongest wind cannot be seen. The next week, I bit back my tongue as we entered the store with forbidden candies. When my mother finished her shopping, she quietly plucked a small bag of plums from the rack and put it on the counter with the rest of the items. My mother imparted her daily truths so she could help my older brothers and me rise above our circumstances. We lived in San Francisco's Chinatown. Like most other Chinese children who played in the back alleys of restaurants and curio shops, I didn't think we were poor. My bowl was always full. 3 5-course meals every day, beginning with soup of mysterious things I didn't want to know the names of. We lived on Waverly Place in a warm, clean 2-bedroom flat that sat above a small Chinese bakery specializing in steamed pastries and dim sum. In the early morning when the alley was still quiet, I could smell fragrant red beans as they were cooked down to a pasty sweetness. By daybreak, our flat was heavy with the odor of fried sesame balls and sweet curried chicken crescents. From my bed, I would listen as my father got ready for work, then lock the door behind him 1, 2, 3 clicks. So our point of view is told in first. So we can see her saying I, me, and we. So that's something to keep in mind. At the end of our 2-block alley was a small sandlot playground with swings and slides well shined down with the middle with use. The play area was bordered by wood slat benches where old century country people sat cracking roasted watermelon seeds with their golden teeth and scattering their husks to an impatient gathering of gurgling pigeons. The best playground, however, was the dark alley itself. It was crammed with daily mysteries and adventures. My brothers and I would peer into the medicinal herb shop, watching old Lee dole out onto a stiff sheet of white paper the right amount of insect shells, saffron-colored seeds, and pungent leaves for his ailing customers. It was said that he once cured a woman dying of an ancestral curse that had eluded the best of American doctors. Next to the pharmacy was a printer who specialized in gold-embossed wedding invitations and festive red banners. Further down the street was Pingyong Fish Market. The front window displayed a tank crowded with doomed fish and turtles struggling to gain footing on the slimy green tiled sides. A handwritten sign informed tourists within this store is all for food, not for pets. Inside, the butchers with their blood-stained white smocks deftly gutted the fish while customers cried out their orders and shouted, "Give me your freshest," to which the butchers always protested, "All our freshest." On less crowded market days, we would inspect the crates of live frogs and crabs, which we were warned not to poke, boxes of dried cuttlefish, and row upon row of iced prawn, squid, and slippery fish. The sand dabs made me shiver each time. Their eyes lay on one flattened side and reminded me of my mother's story of a careless girl who ran into a crowded street and was crushed by a cab. Was smashed flat, reported my mother. So I want you to really think about the setting of Chinatown from Waverly's perspective. All of the people, all of the places, not always a ton of supervision. She says that the city, the alleys are almost like their playgrounds. At the corner of the alley was Hong Sing's, a four-table cafe with a recessed stairwell in front that led to a door marked tradesman. My brothers and I believed the bad people emerged from this door at night. Tourists never went to Hong Sing's since the menu was printed only in Chinese. A Caucasian man with a big camera once posed me and my playmates in front of the restaurant. He had us move to the side of the picture window so the photo would capture the roasted duck with its head dangling from a juice-covered rope. After he took the picture, I told him he should go into Hong Sing's and eat dinner. When he smiled and asked me what they served, I shouted guts and duck's feet and octopus gizzards. Then I ran off with my friends, shrieking with laughter as we scampered across the alley and hid in the entryway grotto of the China Gem Company, my heart pounding with hope that he would chase us. My mother named me after the street we lived on, Waverly Place Strong. My official name for important American documents, but my family called me Mei Mei, little sister. I was the youngest, the only daughter. Each morning before school, my mother would twist and yank on my thick black hair until she had formed two tightly wound pigtails. One day she struggled to weave a hard-tooth comb through my disobedient hair. I had a sly thought. I asked her, "Ma, what is Chinese torture?" My mother shook her head. A bobby pin was wedged between her lips. She wetted her palm and smoothed the hair above my ear, then pushed the pin so that it was nicked sharply against my scalp. "Who said this word?" she asked without a trace of knowing how wicked I was being. I shrugged my shoulders. "Some boy in my class said Chinese people do Chinese torture." "Chinese people do many things," she said simply. "Chinese people do business, do medicine, do painting. Not lazy like American people. We do torture, best torture." I think that we learn a lot about Waverly's mom in these couple of pages. That she's kind of down to business, and she also has a lot of mixed feelings about like considering her background and kind of trying to mold it in with that American background that Waverly is in. My older brother Vincent was the one who actually got the chess set. We had gone to the annual Christmas party held at the First Chinese Baptist Church at the end of the alley. The missionary ladies had put together a Santa bag of gifts donated by members of another church. None of the gifts had names on them. There were separate sacks for boys and girls of different ages. One of the Chinese parishioners had donned a Santa Claus costume and a stiff paper beard with cotton balls glued to it. I think the only children who thought he was the real thing were too young to know that Santa Claus was not Chinese. When my turn came up, the Santa man asked me how old I was. I thought it was a trick question. I was 7 according to the American formula and 8 by the Chinese calendar. I said I was born March 17th, 1951. That seemed to satisfy him. He then solemnly asked if I had been a very, very good girl this year and did I believe in Jesus Christ and obey my parents. I knew the only answer to that. I nodded back. Vincent got the chess set, which would have been a very decent present to get at a church Christmas party, except it was obviously used, and we discovered later it was missing a black pawn and a white knight. My mother graciously thanked the unknown benefactor, saying, "Too good, costs too much." At which point, an old lady with fine white wispy hair nodded toward our family and said with a whistling whisper, "Merry, Merry Christmas." When we got home, my mother told Vincent to throw the chess set away. "She not want it, we not want it," she said, tossing her head stiffly to the side with a tight, proud smile. My brothers had deaf ears. They were already lining up the chess pieces and reading from a dog-eared instruction book. I watched Vincent and Winston play during Christmas week. The chessboard seemed to hold elaborate secrets waiting to be untangled. The chessmen were more powerful than Lee's magic herbs that cured ancestral curses. My brothers wore such serious faces that I was sure something was at stake that was greater than avoiding the tradesman's door to Hong Sing's. Let me, I begged between games, when one brother or the other would sit back with a deep sigh of relief and victory, the other annoyed, unable to let go of the outcome. Vincent at first refused to let me play, but when I offered my lifesavers as replacement for the buttons that filled in for the missing pieces, he relented. He chose the flavors: wild cherry for Black Pawn and peppermint for the White Knight. Winner could eat both. So, our desired results for this story so far is to identify point of view and read, summarize, and analyze Rules of the Game by Amy Tan. Your assignment is to go back and complete the L5 Rules of the Game comprehension check, and you have 4 questions to respond to in one short response.